If you search the internet, you'll see that dogs are attacking domestic animals on a regular basis. There's a wonderful Facebook page called Down with Dogs, a Menace to Society, which you all need to check out. It posts links to reports of recent dog attacks on both humans and animals. I encourage you to like the page and follow it for a month just to get an idea of how big of a problem this is. Other dogs, cats, chickens, geese, ducks, horses, cows, goats, sheep, alpacas, donkeys, you name it, all are being attacked and killed by dogs on a regular basis. The number of domestic animals attacked and killed by dogs is so huge, it's incalculable. If any of you can provide worldwide statistics, please share them in the comments. I wanted to make this video in order to give you an idea of the scope of the carnage, but it's so huge, it's really hard to grasp. In an article called Dog Attacks on Livestock, How Bad is the Problem and What Are the Possible Solutions?, which was published 1 year ago, it's reported that in the UK alone, 15,000 sheep were killed by dogs in 2016, according to the All-Parliamentary Group on Animal Welfare. Dog attacks on livestock cost the farming sector £1.3 million a year, says the National Farmers Union. An article was posted on the newssky.com website last month called Police Want Dog DNA Database as Attacks on Livestock Increase. It states, quote, farming organizations hope an increase in awareness among dog owners will reduce thousands of livestock deaths and injuries, end quote. And it says that the number of injured and killed animals may be much larger, with a recent survey finding only 39% of farmers reported attack incidents to police. Figures from the National Sheep Association show that on average, 4 sheep are killed per dog attack, though some farmers lose 30 to 40 sheep in single incidents. It says, quote, dogs have a hunting instinct, which is triggered by the sight and scent of, quote, prey, especially if the animals start to run away. People tend to underestimate their dog's innate hunting instinct, end quote. Usually, these attacks are carried out by roaming dogs, but sometimes the owners are out walking with their innocent fur baby when the dog breaks away from them and launches an attack. These dogs were often raised with love and well trained. Owners say they never showed any signs of aggression in the past. There is no evidence to suggest these dogs were mistreated or abused in any way. They surprise their owners by launching unexpected and vicious attacks on these gentle, peaceful farm animals. And they do this because they are dogs. They are predatory animals whose instincts are awakened by the sight and smell of prey animals. They are doing what comes naturally to them. You cannot train or love this instinct out of dogs. It's part of what they are. They are savage, remorseless, bloodthirsty, instinct-driven beasts that love to shred animals into pieces. They revel in these senseless, heinous, bloody acts of violence. Farmer Judy Hancox, a British farmer, said in the article, quote, it's a huge problem that every farmer has suffered. The last one I had was particularly horrible. 2 huskies got free from their owner in the fog, and the tally at the end was 5 dead sheep and 1 injured. She said, you feel so guilty as a sheep owner that you put your sheep through such a terrible thing. I've had multiple problems with dogs worrying and killing sheep, end quote. Now, there's actually a term for this. Sheep worrying means the act of a dog of chasing a flock of sheep and biting or injuring the sheep. This behavior is so common, they created a word for it. In February of this year, 70 sheep were found dead in a field in Dalston, England. That's 70 sheep. The farmer lost 70 sheep and up to 15,000 pounds worth of sheep, which amounts to nearly 20,000 US dollars, following a suspected dog attack on his farm. Ian Bowness, not sure, the National Farmers Union Northwest Deputy County Chairman, is quoted as saying, "Dog walkers are reminded that even the most docile of pets can cause serious injury and death to livestock if they are not walked responsibly, particularly if that dog is not familiar with livestock." End quote. There's another story of a horse that was recently attacked in England by a dog that latched onto the horse's face and stayed latched on even after the horse ran up the road. The shocked dog owner repeatedly said the dog had never done anything like that before, which is what dog owners almost always say when their dogs attack. Dogs are animals with strong predatory instincts, which many humans deny. People are humanizing their dogs now and calling them fur babies, pretending they're human. But these animals are not human. They have a prey drive which kicks in and causes them to attack at the sight or smell of prey. No matter how well trained a dog is, you cannot train or love these instincts out of dogs. They are all unpredictable beasts that can and do launch unprovoked attacks on both domestic and wild animals all the time, causing massive damage. Stay tuned for my next video, in which I will discuss how dogs threaten wild animals, including many endangered species. In a BBC.com article posted April 8th of this year entitled "Dangerous Dogs Act Call After Attacks on Sheep Soar," it says, quote, "The insurance company NFU Mutual is calling on the government to update the Dangerous Dogs Act because of soaring attacks on farm animals," end quote. The company is part of the Livestock Worrying Police Working Group, which wants higher fines and restrictions on dogs being let loose. NFU Mutual figures show sheep and other farm animals worth £3.5 million were attacked by dogs in England between the years 2015 and 2018. Tim Price of the NFU said attacks were at, quote, "historically record levels," end quote. I found a number of articles I will share with you, but the reports of dog attacks on livestock is endless. I encourage you to do your own research online into this. One report that absolutely infuriated me was a story about 2 therapy alpacas in Australia that were attacked by a Staffordshire Terrier last month. Listen to this. Quote, "Nils Lansky was walking his 2 alpacas, Mimosa and Hercules, in Girlang, I hope I pronounced that properly, just before 7 p.m. on Tuesday, when they encountered a man walking his black Staffy off lead. The alpacas had provided support for people in mental health units and hospices for the past 15 years. When Mr. Lansky saw the dog approaching, and I hope I'm pronouncing Lansky properly, when he saw the dog approaching, he asked the owner to keep it away. The man reportedly ignored his request and continued approaching until his dog started attacking Hercules, the large male alpaca. He was screaming at the owner to stop his dog, but instead of trying to help, the man reportedly started filming the sickening attack. Quote, "He attacked Hercules first, the white boy, and Hercules went into a classic attack position on his hind legs to attack the dog, but the dog left him and attacked Mimosa, the tiny female," he said. "And the dog just went to town on her," he said. In an effort to help Mimosa, Mr. Lansky grabbed a stick and started hitting the dog, hoping to stop the attack. This reportedly made the owner angry. Could you imagine? What the hell were you supposed to do when you see your alpacas getting attacked by a dog? Just stand there and watch? And take out your phone and start filming like the owner? Jesus. The attack was so violent, Mr. Lansky's friend, who was holding Mimosa's lead, was forced to let go so she wasn't attacked as well. The dog reportedly chased the frightened alpaca up the street and when they finally found her, she was lying in pain on the grass. Both of her front legs had been broken, with one leg being bitten to the bone. They were forced to take her to a vet to euthanize her. Hercules came out of the attack with no visible injuries, though the owner did say he was, quote, very sad and scared after the event. Now, people are asked to contact domestic animal services if they saw the attack or know the owner. Apparently, the owner just left the scene, which is typical. You hear about this happening all the time. Dog owners just leaving the scene. The owners were devastated, as you can imagine. But it gets even crazier. It says, quote, despite the traumatic event, the owner of the alpacas urged the public not to blame the dog or its breed for the incident. Quote, the owner is responsible. The dog was doing what it has been taught to do. End quote. No, it was not taught to do this. It was following its instincts. Dogs are descended from wolves, which means they are bloodthirsty, predatory animals. Pit bull type dogs, dogs bred to bait bulls, were not trained to attack. They were bred to attack. They have it in them. It's in their DNA. You cannot train it out of them. You cannot love it out of them. Why do people continue to deny the true nature of dogs? In February of this year in California, 3 alpacas were killed on a farm by huskies. 2 goats and 3 sheep were injured in the attack. The owners are devastated. These alpacas were gentle creatures that were very much loved. In all of these cases, the owners of the killed animals suffer emotional as well as financial losses. And this needs to stop. The media reports it, but it isn't talked about very much, and nothing is being done. It just keeps happening. When are we going to do something about it? In 2018, a husky went on a spree and killed 27 farm animals in Utah. The dog's owner said the behavior was unusual for the dog. Oh, what else is new? It's an endless list of stories like this on the internet. In Louisville, Kentucky, in February this year, a man shot 2 dogs that he said were attempting to attack his cow. The shooting came 2 days after 2 donkeys were found dead, and about a week after 6 llamas were killed in an attack that is believed to be a dog attack. It's never-ending stories, guys. In Michigan last year, 8 goats were killed by dogs. The goats were worth $400 to $500 apiece. It's believed the dogs were pit bulls, quote, judging from the way the 8 goats were killed. Their throats were torn out and their muzzles were chewed out, end quote. Now, for all you people who say pit bulls are no more dangerous than any other breed of dog, that's bullshit, because Shetland sheepdogs or miniature poodles or dachshunds or whatever type of smaller breed of dog is not going to rip the throats out of goats and chew their muzzles out. In Arrington, British Columbia, in December 2018, 2 dogs were shot while in the process of killing a farmer's livestock. Farmers on Vancouver Island in Canada are losing farm animals to dogs on a regular basis. One local farmer says, quote, this year we've probably had 5 incidents with 2 groups of dogs and lost in the neighborhood of 20 sheep, end quote. Every year these farmers on Vancouver Island lose sheep to cougars and bears. Those losses are covered by the province. The Capital Regional District, or the CRD, also pays them when dogs kill their sheep. But an amendment before the CRD could change that. Quote, there was a proposal going to the board on Wednesday that compensation for dog kills of sheep and goats, any farm animal, was going to be discontinued, and it could affect us. It could affect all farming, end quote. The proposal would stop paying farmers 75% of the value of the livestock killed by dogs. But Metchosin, I don't know how to pronounce that, Metchosin, Mayor John Rands said even though it's not a lot of money, it could hurt farming in the region. He says, I've seen this happen here before, where so many sheep have been killed that farmers have gone out of business, and that's unfortunate. Now, I'm wondering, how do they know if it's a cougar or a bear or a dog that killed the livestock? How do they determine which animal is responsible? Do they get an expert to come in and investigate the scene? Who's paying for that if they have some kind of investigator? Who is reimbursing these farmers for their losses? For all of this damage dogs do? It's the taxpayer. It's you and me. Well, I should not have to pay for damage caused by filthy, stinking dogs that are not even a part of nature. They aren't like cougars and bears that are a product of evolution, a product of natural selection. Animals that evolved naturally and independently of humans. No, dogs are mutants. They were selectively bred by people. They are monsters. They are abominations of nature that we created. They have no part to play in the ecosystem. In fact, they are damaging the ecosystem, which I'm going to talk about in my next video, like I said, which is going to be about how dogs threaten wildlife and endangered species. Dogs are vermin, and they should be eliminated from our communities, just like we eliminate rats. They are worthless menaces. From the Animals 24/7 website, it says pit bulls alone killed 38,000 other animals in 2017. In the USA, pit bulls killed 92% of dogs killed by dogs, and 96% of cats killed by dogs in 2017. So you can see that pit bulls are doing the most damage by far. They killed nearly 13,000 dogs, 5,000 cats, and this is just in the USA, by the way. 5,000 cats and more than 20,000 farmed animals in 2017. That's just pit bulls in America killing 20,000 farmed animals. So who knows how many animals are killed by all breeds of dogs? I haven't found those figures. If you know them, please share them. But you can see these numbers are huge. Of the 9,600 hoofed animals believed to have been killed by dogs in 2017, about 6,075, or 63%, were killed by pit bulls. And those are just the deaths, mind you. Many farm animals are injured by dogs but don't die. Of the 7,950 hoofed animals believed to have been attacked by dogs who survived, 5,516, or 69%, were attacked by pit bulls. Again, pit bulls doing the most damage by far. And bear in mind, these are only American statistics. One can only imagine what the numbers are worldwide. Besides attacks on livestock, there are other dog-related problems, such as infectious disease. Dog feces contains parasites that can cause serious diseases in sheep, cattle, and horses by contaminating the grass they eat. These include neosporosis, which can make livestock miscarry. There's also disturbance to ground nesting birds. Ground nesting birds are particularly vulnerable to disturbance and can be forced from their nests, leaving eggs or chicks exposed. So that's another subject we're going to talk about in my next video, how dogs threaten wildlife. But they're talking about possible solutions to this problem and say that possible solutions could include stricter laws, better communication between dog walkers and farmers, and closing footpaths. A surefire way to solve the problem, which is not being proposed, but I think it should be proposed, is a full ban on dog ownership. That would get my vote. Farmers do not need to own dogs. Nobody needs to own dogs. Ideally, farmers would give up raising domestic animals in favor of growing plant-based alternatives. This is actually a growing trend as more people switch to a plant-based diet and demand for these products increases. The future is plant-based, and the keeping of livestock is already being phased out. You can read about this online. Dairy farmers are going out of business because the demand for cow milk is dropping. People are choosing plant-based alternatives. That is the future of farming. I found an article about sheep handling which states herding dogs aren't even necessary. Quote, if you don't have a herding dog to fetch the sheep, you can train the sheep to come to a vocal command or a rattle of the feed bucket. Most sheep will come when they think they are going to get grain to eat. If this doesn't work, it will be necessary to go out to the field to get the flock and either drive them from behind or lead them with a feed bucket or lead sheep. Pet sheep are difficult to drive and make good lead sheep. If the sheep aren't familiar with where you want to move them, you may need several people to act as herders. So there's simply no need for dogs. Nobody needs these animals. Why do we tolerate their presence in our communities when they are doing so much damage? Not only would a full ban on dog ownership solve the problem of attacks on farm animals, it would solve many, many, many other problems as well. Problems that I have addressed in past videos and problems I will talk about in future videos. Please stay tuned for more.